Villalobos, Justo Villalobos. I'm the owner of Buildworth Strategies. I'm the president and CEO. And on today's live, I wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys. I usually get this question a lot. Clients always ask, how long is the credit repair process? How long does it take? And it really derives based on what is your goal? What are your intentions? What are you looking to achieve? What are you looking to buy? Are you looking to refinance? Are you looking to buy a car? Are you looking to maybe turn in your car? Maybe you're looking to go ahead and maybe change your job. And it all pretty much boils down to the same bottom line. What is the goal? What is the objective? So I really wanted to go ahead and clarify that. How long is the credit repair program? How long does it last? Every case is really unique. Everybody's in different stages of credit. So depending on exactly what the goal is, then you really have to tailor a service around that. So key components. I really wanted to talk to you guys too with regards to what is the FICO scoring platform, because if we go ahead and we identify what the goal is, again, example, if we're looking to go ahead and buy a home, maybe you spoke to a broker, maybe you spoke to a bank and they told you needed a 640 credit score, maybe for that first time home buyers program, right? Or maybe you're looking to, maybe you want to get the best rate possible, so you're trying to get above the 700s. Everybody knows that the higher the score, the less of a risk, the better the rates, right? So again, depending on what that goal is, you have to understand how the FICO scoring platform works. And in a sense, what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to put that puzzle piece together. So 5 factors when it comes to the FICO, right? What is the FICO? The FICO is the Fair Isaac Corporation. It was established back in 1956 by Fair and Isaac. These two individuals created this algorithm that now 98% of major companies actually run by. And what this algorithm does, it pretty much mitigates the type of risk that the creditors have with the consumers, right? So they want to see the risk factor. So again, 35% of your credit score is based on what's called payment history. This includes anything that has ever been derogatory on your credit. Either you got some sort of public record, either a judgment, it could be a bankruptcy, a tax lien, state liens, those type of things that could influence that 35% part. We're also talking about late payments. We're talking about collections, charged off accounts. So that aspect of it holds the biggest weight. Why? Because everybody wants to make sure they're going to get their money, right? These creditors, these lenders, right? The second biggest portion of what builds credit, it's actually what's called the debt ratio. The debt ratio actually focuses on one specific type of account, and this is the credit card. The credit card plays a key component when establishing credit. What really separates someone from having good to excellent credit is going to be the limits versus the balances on your credit card. So me personally, I always want people to have, $15,000, $20,000, $35,000 in available lines. What's up, Kathy? Because that's really what's going to separate you from the pack. You get to the point that you don't have nothing negative, but then that's what you're going to do, and that's what you're going to use to get you to that next level. Now, that's 65%, right, guys? We also have 15%, which is based on history. How long have you had credit for? That's obviously a key component too. Lenders want to be able to see that you've been able to manage credit for pretty much a good amount of time. A healthy amount to have is anywhere from 9 to 11 years, right? Now, we also have mixture of credit. Mixture of credit actually focuses on 3 types of accounts. That is the mortgage, which in this particular case is a home loan, obviously. We also have installment accounts such as lines of credits. It could also be student loans. Anything with a term, anything with an ending, a fixed payment with an ending. And we also have inquiries. Inquiries play the last part, which is another 10%, totaling a total of 100%. And inquiries, a healthy amount to have, guys, is anywhere from 6 to 8 in the last 2 years. And for the most part, for all of you that I already know, inquiries actually is the only type of account that falls off by itself. So after 2 years, the inquiry obviously falls off. So now that we've understood the 5 key components as to what exactly builds credit, how credit works, or how is it being managed or whatnot, now let's go back into what we spoke about originally. How long is the credit process? Or why is it that I want to go ahead and fix my credit? So the first thing, like I said before, I always ask, what is your goal? So again, credit repair doesn't have to be a lengthy process. It has to be a strategic process. It has to be something that you yourself as a consumer are going to work towards. Now, if you're obviously looking to do your own disputes, either online or by in writing. I always suggest in writing, obviously, mail and return receipt. Make sure that everybody, obviously, the agencies receive your information. You obviously have to be conscious that if you're going to go ahead and also solicit a company like ours, what is it exactly that company's going to go ahead and do? What do you have to do as a consumer in order for you to try to get to that goal as soon as possible, right? So you're going to have to help me right here. Okay. So you're going to have to get there as soon as possible. So there is no preset amount of time. The only thing that I always go ahead and I base what I do, how I go ahead and I process my disputes, is what's going to determine the length of time is going to be based on how old are these derogatory accounts. When was the last time that you made a late payment? Because what happens is through time, a lot of things happen. Systems get integrated, companies merge, information gets lost. And again, it goes back to rules and regulations, guys. There's a total of 9 different acts that you could potentially go ahead and leverage to be able to solicit, or at least in a sense, fire off a dispute, so you're able to go ahead and get a response back from the agency. So again, the Fair Credit Reporting Act was amended back in 1971, and it states that everything has to be verifiable, accurate, and complete. And if it's not, it has to be deleted or it has to be corrected, right? So again, using the 609, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if depending on how many negative accounts you have, it's always in your best interest to challenge all of them, especially if they're derogatory. So again, being based on the length of time. So how long is it going to take for me to go ahead and shoot off a dispute and get some sort of response? By law, we obviously have to go ahead and give the agencies 30 business days. That means in a month like December, which a bunch of holidays, weekends, then guess what? It's almost 45 days. So we have to be realistic first off. So when we're talking about, how long is the credit repair process, we have to identify what is the objective, what is the goal. Am I giving myself a sufficient amount of time? Because guess what? To buy a home loan, and if obviously you're trying to achieve the highest score possible, that's going to be one of your biggest investments. So you don't want to go ahead and shortchange yourself by having a mediocre score or a very low score, 650, around there, even though that it is possible for you to go ahead and obtain a loan with that. But again, you want the best favorable rates. Why? Because through a period of time, you want to save as much money as possible. So the higher the score, the better the rate. There's more flexibility, the debt to income ratios, when loan to values, you're able to go ahead and increase because of the score. So you're able to actually manage more if your scores are higher. So if your income might not be fully there, but obviously the scores are, that's the key role when it would happen. So again, going back to how long is it going to take? So now we're looking at a negative item, right? Or negative account. Keep in mind that when we're talking about late payments, one late payment on a credit card or on a loan, is it doable for you to go ahead and rectify that? Absolutely. There's actually a tactic that I like to go ahead and encourage people to use. It's called the forgiveness letter. And basically it's like admitting you messed up. Some lenders, take that into consideration. Depending on how long that account has been open, they might be willing to go ahead and convert that into a late, from the late payment into a positive, obviously overturning it. When we're referring to, keep in mind that if you have 2 late payments, 3 late payments, that junk is like pulling teeth, especially if it's on the same account. Also keep in mind, how long did that occur? If it occurred a year, 2 years ago, that's good. When we're talking about charge-off, late payments, those type of things, you want to give it a sufficient amount of time. If the charge-off just occurred 2 months ago, it might not even be a good thing. You want that to extend at least a minimum of 6 months before you start challenging that information. The fresher the information that it is in the system, the harder it will be for you to find those discrepancies, right? So now when we're talking about collections usually are a little bit, I don't like to use the word easy. I'm using it now, obviously. But, when we're talking about challenging a collection, it's best to go ahead and wait a minimum of 90 days. Usually anytime after that, then it's fair game. Again, there's rules and regulations that protect us. Information is getting sold over to the collection agencies. So because of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, there's Privacy Act, there's rules and regulations, Fair Debt Collections Practice. There's only so much information that could be, given over. So the probability of you finding the discrepancy on a collection, it's a lot higher compared to other accounts because that information was sold from the original creditor. And by law, they cannot provide all the information possible. So especially for those medical collections. So I always go ahead and suggest to people, first investigate, do your due diligence before engaging in any kind of payment plan or any kind of settlement, right? So now that we've covered the 35%, so obviously disputing negative information is huge. It's an upside. You delete an account, that's a higher potential, 35, 45 points. If you're able to go ahead and delete a collection, a charge off, or overturn a late payment, right? So now when we're talking about the second biggest phase, which is the debt ratio. The debt ratio focuses only on credit cards. The credit card really is the only account that, in a sense, it's related to, it's a personal algorithm. Creditors are able to see it's the only account really that, depending on how you manage it, that's why it keeps that big 30%, because it's an account that it's not a fixed payment, it's not on a fixed date. If you max it out, you could pay it right away, you could use it again. You could, depending if you have an account like an American Express, you could even go ahead. That's a prepaid credit card, meaning that that you could actually pay more than what the limit is, and it's a charge card. I apologize, it's not a prepaid. Prepaid is one of those type of cards that that you get in Walmart, and you have to every once in a while charge it. A charge card like an American Express is a card that you actually put additional money besides whatever the limit is if you're looking to obviously spend some more. So 30% of your credit is really important. One key component when it actually comes to taking advantage of that 30%, guys, is adding yourself as an authorized user. So if you have a cousin, a mother, a brother, a family member, somebody that's obviously willing to go ahead and help you, ask them, dude, do you have a credit card yet? Could you add me as an authorized user? Keep in mind that the person that's being used, or the person that's voluntarily giving the card to that individual, there's no downside to you. The only thing is, what I always encourage is, make sure that you're giving the proper pieces of information. Sometimes we call the credit card company, we add somebody, and some creditors just request a name and last name. That's not enough, guys. So my suggestion is always get name, last name, date of birth, social, and address. Give all those pieces of information. Let the creditor know, listen, I really want to make sure that that information is going to relay on that person's credit, because it's crucial. That person's looking to buy a home in this particular amount of time. So the faster that information comes onto the report, the better. So use those four pieces of information. When it comes to adding yourself as an authorized user, keep in mind, try to get the card that person has, which has the highest limit. Try, if it's possible, to have a zero balance, or don't go above the 30%. And if that account has been open for, let's say, 9 to 11 years, that's even a bigger plus, because now you're taking advantage not only of the 30%, but also the next, which is the 15%, right? Which is history. That's a combination right there of 45%. So keep in mind, how long is the credit repair program? Well, it depends, right? We're attacking the negative at simultaneously using or utilizing other people's credit, putting myself as an authorized user. Depending on where your credit scores are at, guys, also it's in your best interest to continue to establish new lines. What I'm referring to are credit cards, because again, it goes back to what I said earlier in the conversation. That's what's going to separate you from the pack, right? From going to good to excellent credit. If you have existing credit cards, it's in your best interest too to contact the creditor and let them know, listen, I've had you for this much amount of time. I would like to go ahead and see if I'm eligible for a line increase. I'm looking to do da-da-da-da-da. Give them what's called your household income, guys. That means that whoever you live with, your parents, or if you live with your husband, your boyfriend, whatever it is, give the total. When it comes down to giving, how much money do you pay for rent? Well, you could literally split that in half if that's exactly what you're doing, right? That right there could determine the debt-to-income ratio, and that could be a higher probability of you getting a higher line compared to others. So that's obviously a key component there. If you're someone who maybe has a credit score below a 580, you're probably going to have to go with a fully secured credit card. If you're above a 580, below a 620 credit score, shoot for something that's called the Capital One fully secured card, or partially secured is what I like to go ahead and say. The partially secured credit card is a really good tool, because that card, depending on where you rate, again, from a 580 to a 620, you might just have to go ahead and put either $49 or $99 down for a $200 line. That's going to give you that additional boost. If you guys have above a 620 credit score, then just go ahead and rely something along the lines of either a Discover, you could literally go to your bank, a Citi Double Cash Reward, so on and so forth. So those are a few components. Like I said before, obviously we have 15%, which is history. And the only way, unless you want to go the long route and waiting once you've established credit to get to the 9 to 11 year mark, is adding yourself as an authorized user. You bypass all of that. That history comes back onto your credit report. Your scores are going to boost up. Also, keep in mind, guys, having a good blend of certain accounts on your credit report is crucial. So there's 3 types of accounts that count towards the mixture of credit, which we have mortgages again. We have installment accounts, term loans, school loans, those type of things. And we also have revolving cards, either secured or unsecured. That means either with a deposit or without a deposit. They count the same, either a store card or a bank card. They count the same, right? And the last thing, obviously, is the inquiries. Do your best, if possible, have a credit monitoring provider. Have somewhere that you're able to go ahead and gauge to see exactly what's happening, such as, I use a couple of them. I'm kind of like a freak with my credit. So I use privacyguard.com. I have Credit Check Total. I have myfico.com. I also have Identity IQ. I have Privacy Assist from Bank of America. And I have the world's greatest Credit Karma, right? Because everybody has it. So those are just a few key components. So how long is the credit repair process? Well, that depends, because if I'm only focused on challenging or disputing the negative accounts, then you're probably going to be there a little bit longer, compared that if you're focused on all the aspects of credit, you're adding, you're reducing, you're not inquiring, you're disputing, all of those key components together could get you to the scores fast. I've seen 250 points in the first 45 days. Is it possible? Yes. Does it happen to everybody? No. We cannot dictate, or we don't even know exactly what the agencies have on us. This is where the investigation has to come in. This is where we have to go ahead and move forward with that. So, guys, I've given you a lot of food for thought. I hope this was very educational, very informative. If you guys feel this is the first time you're checking out the channel, consider liking, subscribing, give me a comment, share with me maybe an experience that you've gone through or something that we could basically continue to keep the conversation open, so that other people that are out there, obviously in the same process or trying to get themselves in a better financial credit situation, or maybe trying to achieve some sort of financial need. And obviously we know that credit is one of those key components that are very important. So thank you so much. Again, until the next Thursday at 1 or before 1. Today's obviously a little bit earlier. So thank you guys. Have a fantastic and beautiful day. Take care.
We didn't